session for the school committee for June 24th. I'm sorry we're running late. We had an executive session run over.
Wait a minute, I gotta let everybody in here.
And we're going to open up our Zoom meeting. Are we supposed to log in again?
Yes.
Yes.
Give us all a
Nobody
minute.
was in there, I was in by myself.
There you go. That's a good sign. No one's waiting for us. Is there no link on our
It's at the top of the agenda.
meeting minutes?
In the blue.
Brian, when you have everyone in, let us know.
Okay.
I can. Okay.
Are you in pause?
Well, we have to turn our computers down.
Thanks, you know where it is?
Is it,
Is that you?
Essex. No, Essex River. Looking toward Crane from Tom Chase.
Oh, there you go.
Essex River from Tom Chase.
Backside of Cranes.
Okay, I think I have,
Is yours?
Bill, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. All right, we have nobody left in the waiting room, so I think we have everybody, and everybody that needs to be spotlighted is spotlighted.
All right, perfect. Welcome to the school committee meeting of June 24th, 2021. We have been in an executive session. I apologize for the delay in starting the meeting. We're going to start with our first item of the agenda, which is the election of the chairperson, vice chairperson, and secretary of the school committee. I will take any nominations for chair.
I'll move to support, or move to nominate Chuck Witten for another term of chairperson of the school committee.
I have a nomination and a second. Further discussion? Anyone else interested in the position or want to present themselves? We got to figure that out.
I think your microphone might be the culprit. No, that one.
Mike?
Let's see.
Hello? Still getting all right, so we have a motion and a second for chairperson. With that. Let's see. All right, who's not on mute? Maybe everyone should mute. Kate, Emily, Pav's muted. Emily, can you mute? I think you're far away from it, though. Anyone else? I don't think so. It's not doing it so much. See, now it's happening.
It's when you talk.
It's not happening now, though, is it?
No, it's not doing it
Yeah,
now.
I think it stopped. So whatever it was a mute somewhere. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor of Chubb Witten for chairperson of the school committee?
Thank you.
Roll call, or do we have to do it as a single vote? Roll call, okay. Yes.
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 Thank you.
All right, I'm going to move now.
Okay, you want to switch?
That's my last chance at the chair. It's over now.
I'd like to nominate Greg Stevens to be vice chair.
Second.
Is there any further discussion? Roll call vote, please, Laura.
Or you're shuffling?
Yes.
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 Reluctantly, yes.
Yes, okay, you're good.
Thank you, sir.
Did you see that bus coming?
Yeah, I heard it from.
Greg, would you like to assume your seat?
Sure.
It's like musical chairs.
I'm gonna miss you.
You're still my mentor.
I haven't, yeah. We barely speak. Oh, we never speak.
We're just getting warmed
We
up.
don't speak.
We're just getting warmed up.
Okay, thank you, sorry. Thank you very much.
Neighbors again.
Becky, you're not muted.
Okay.
Here we are. I move to support Brian Blake as secretary.
Is there any further discussion? Roll call vote, Laura? Yes.
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 This is where
We're
He
chuckling
nominates.
because I nominate, I don't have, there's no vote, but I
Delegate.
delegate that to.
Thank you, Laura. So I'm not even going to congratulate Brian, I'm going to thank Laura. Thank you. Thank you very much.
At one point, the school committee had their own, actually for many years, the school committee had their own, wasn't the executive secretary that did the minutes.
Yeah, no, we had our own secretary most of the time. And in fact, there was some dispute at sometimes about who would call this the snow days too. That was a discussion of school committee at one point.
Okay. If that's okay, I'd like to read the mission statement for the Ipswich Public Schools. And the Ipswich Public Schools aspires to empower all students to be global citizens who are effective communicators, analytical problem solvers, and savvy consumers of information. We propose to do this through an emphasis on communication, critical thinking, creativity, self-management, perseverance, and collaboration. Students will be active partners in authentic learning, offering voice and choice, and demonstrating competency. Thank you. We have two citizens' comments section in our meeting, and this is our first one. I don't see the second one on our agenda again, but traditionally in the age of Zoom, we've done that. So are there any citizen comments tonight? I've got that, believe it or not. Okay, hearing none, I'll move on to announcements. The next school committee meeting will be held on Thursday, July 15th at 7 p.m. The school committee retreat will be held on Tuesday, August 10th at 6-ish?
5 probably.
5 p.m. And we do have a negotiations subcommittee meeting on the books that you have, that for the group that we met with last week. That I'll
Yes.
coordinate with you,
Yeah.
Emily, after the meeting, if that's okay, to see if it works for you. And that's it. Are there any other announcements? Okay, thank you. Special acknowledgements. We have a lot of special acknowledgements tonight, and I think the first and foremost are the retirement of that we have in our district, and I'd like to read off our retirements tonight through all 4 schools. And I can't see the screen fully, and do not know if any of the folks are here. Anyone? At Winthrop, we have Sheila McAdams is retiring as principal. I'm going to screw up their position, so maybe I'll just read the names of the other people. Deborah Trevorrow, Marcia Karras, and Diane Cote. At Doyon, Sheila Halloran, Maureen O'Connell, Ed Ogden, and Linda Blum. At the middle school, Betty D'Angelo, and in our central office, Joanne Cuff. We have spoken a lot about how important our elementary school principals have been to our district and how appreciative the administrators, as well as Joanne Cuff, and what an incredible asset she's been to our community for so many years, have been. And I think we and we'd be happy to talk about their crucial roles further. I go through this list, and I'm super thankful for our 3 administrators' leadership. But I'll miss Marcia Karras at Winthrop. I'll thank Maureen O'Connell for retiring last year and then realizing we were in a bind and signing up for another year. I mean, that was a truly selfish act that I'll always be appreciative of. I got to know Ed Ogden, and there's just nothing I can't admire about him. Man, he's just been, he's been all hands on. It's been all hands on deck for him since the day I met him. And it's been an honor to meet him. So, Deb Trevorrow, I've been involved with because I've been a Winthrop parent, and I've really enjoyed. And actually, I really got to know Deb Trevorrow building a playground with her. And her husband, and that was just, she just added, just dug in and worked hard, and you really got to.
Excellent yoga teacher.
Excuse me?
She's an excellent yoga teacher.
I bet she is.
She
bet she is. So, those are my experiences with those people. I don't know if you guys have a list or have any other things to add, but I couldn't be more appreciative of our retiring class this year, and what like the rest of the district that I think we've continually acknowledged and are thankful for. But their contributions have been immense. They'll be greatly missed, but deeply appreciated. So, thank you all. Okay.
Next up, I see Nat Pulsifer is on. He's one of the FEFIs. He's our liaison, and I don't know if, Greg, you had any information on that as well, as far as the FEFI's distribution. I know that Larry Seidler dropped off the check 2 weeks ago now, because it was already processed and he didn't want to hang on to it until this meeting, doing the dollar amount. So he brought it in and we deposited it. So Nat, are you representing the FEFIs this evening?
He's muted. Nat, you're muted.
Can't find him.
There you go.
Sorry, is that better?
That's much better.
I'm the liaison, the FEFIs have asked me to be the liaison, and I will attend meetings, not every meeting, but occasionally, and answer questions, come back to you as needed. But I think it's important that the Feffies take not an active role, but a more participatory role with the school's affairs. We don't want to just merely write a check. We would like to be involved with where the money goes, how it is going, and the benefits to the school system and the town of the Feffie money. So we're trying to learn. That's my role, is to be liaison. I have no authority on behalf of the Feffies. I'm just here to participate.
Okay. Thank you, Nat.
No, my pleasure.
So we were scheduled to have Larry come present the check, but he will not be here tonight.
Right, he is not here, but I'm looking over at you.
Greg.
Greg's over here.
No, I mean, I'll just mention that obviously we're, as a district, very fortunate and appreciative of the work of the Feffies and the fact that those trust assets continue to grow significantly every year and offers significant distributions to the schools. This year's distribution was close to, just south of about 900,000. We're also fortunate that the Feffies approved our recommendation and policy change to allow us to return any unspent funds back to the Feffies, and they've allowed us to access those funds in future years if our grant requests exceed the amount of the annual distribution. So again, it's just, I don't think back in 2012 when this whole process started, I don't think anyone could have envisioned how well this would have all worked out and the just amazing benefit it's offered to the schools over the last 10 years, I guess, at this point. So, I think it's a function of the management of the funds by the advisors that the Feffies have hired. It's a function of the very conservative distribution policy that allows for a smooth distribution each year. And we'll all keep our fingers crossed the markets keep moving in the right direction and these numbers get bigger every year. So one thing that we discussed in our past meetings was this year we have about $347,000 in unspent Feffies funds from previous years that's being returned. And again, we can access that money in future years if we need to. For FY21, I think there's roughly about $200,000 of money that was unspent, mainly due to COVID, and a lot of these programs couldn't be, utilized. So that will go toward next year's distribution and potentially refund a portion or maybe all of that back to the trust that we can then draw on in future years. So that's just kind of a quick summary of where we stand, and as Brian said, Larry Seidler dropped the check off, so we're in pretty good shape there.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Greg. Are there any other comments or questions? Okay, we look forward to discussing the Payne grants with the chair of the Payne Grant Committee, Heather Leonard, in a 2 short segments. So stand by, Heather. Thank you, and thank you, Payne Grant Committee. Tonight we have Patrick Lynch with us from the Ipswich River Watershed Association. I don't have the title of your presentation, so you invited us here. We invited you here to talk about student opportunities with your organization. Is that correct, Emily? Yeah.
Yes.
Welcome, Patrick. The floor is yours.
Great. Well, thank you so much for having me, and thank you, Emily, for encouraging me to come to speak to you all today. I'll try to keep this brief so that you're not stuck there forever. So I am the Director of Policy and Planning at Ipswich River. I started at the beginning of the pandemic, which is why I've not had a chance to meet many folks in person yet. I certainly hope that will change. I also just want to say I letting me speak here tonight. I just wanted to briefly speak about two initiatives that we are working on at the Ipswich River Watershed Association. And if there's time and interest, any advice you might have for us or any concerns or questions. And really the first one, it gets to our growing commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion. Looking at nature, nature is a great classroom, especially in the summer when all the kids are out of school. And at its best, it can really help us build our sense of equity and unity, but only if it's accessible to everyone. And we do have a membership program at the Watershed Association, somewhere around 450 families in Ipswich and about 1,500 across the watershed. Members get invitations to events, webinars, receive information, but the most exciting thing they receive is unlimited use of power canoes and kayaks. And so for many years, even pre-pandemic, this was a really valuable resource for families and their children. The issue is that very few people knew about it, and it tended to only spread by word of mouth. And obviously, word of mouth is innately limited to certain social circles, and if those social circles aren't very diverse, then it leads to the consequence of what we have is that we don't have a lot of diversity in our membership, or in folks that come and use our boats and feel invited and included to come use the space that we have, which for those of you who haven't been, it's right down the street from downtown Ipswich. It's not too hard to find, but again, very few people outside of our existing circles know about it. So this year, at the urging of one of our members, Jira Ishazi, we have decided to offer free memberships for any families who would like one. We think it's really important that kids are getting outside and enjoying nature this summer, especially after this year. And we've already started to welcome a few families through this new membership program, this free membership program. And I just encourage people to reach out to us if they'd like to come. And we're specifically encouraging families of color and families who may have never been on a river paddling before. It's a little bit, it can be tricky the first time. As someone, I've brought a lot of people paddling for their first time over the last year. And it's a little bit nerve-wracking at the beginning, but it's easy to learn, and it's a really fun activity. And it's a safe activity. So that was one of the initiatives I just wanted to mention. And we were encouraged to reach out to the school system and to seek your support and seek any advice you might have on how we can reach families in Ipswich, whether it's now over the summer or in the fall. And then just the second initiative, and this is more long-term, is I wanted to highlight that in our new strategic planning and our new Endangered Ipswich campaign, we're actually prioritizing and growing our education program. So back in Ipswich, back in April, the Ipswich was declared one of the most endangered rivers in the country. That's not a great distinction, but the good news is there's a lot that we can do to help save the endangered Ipswich. And one of our challenges in promoting these solutions is we need to educate the public, educate our elected leaders, and really tap into all of the creativity that exists in our communities. We actually just launched a new film last night called Story of Ipswich. It's all about community and climate resiliency on the North Shore. And we tapped into a few recent Ipswich high school graduates that participated in the climate cafes in order to put that film together. So it's a good, exciting example of what we might be able to do. And so in the process of what we're doing now, which is our summer program, we're trying to find ways to develop a year-round educational curriculum and to increase our capacity to, again, offer this as a free service. And we're starting to look at different school systems, and I think it made a lot of sense for us to present ourselves first to you. You are our neighbors, and obviously there's a lot of science education, a lot of outdoor education already in the Ipswich public school system. So one thing we'd be curious to hear from you, if you have any comments, is if you recommend that we go directly to teachers and approach them about opportunities, if you think we should be speaking to the principals. I understand you're going to bring on some new leadership this year, which is exciting, or if you think we should be speaking with parent groups like Rise to see if they're interested. And we're really open to any suggestions at this point. And I guess I'll stop there to see if anybody has any comments.
Yep. So Patrick, do you have a small write-up, you know, maybe a paragraph or two that you could send me on that first program? I'd be glad to send that out. All year long, I was doing a weekly message on Fridays and providing some community information. This would be great to be able to send out to folks. I was gonna stop for the summer, but I can certainly continue with pieces like this. And I can blast it out to the community. If you give me the information that you want me to get out, I can certainly share that out with the community. That would be one thing. And the second piece is increasing the education curriculum. We do some work, as you're aware, the middle school level does a big canoe trip in the spring. So I would encourage you to speak directly with the principals to see how we can further, you know, build that relationship and have more involvement on the curriculum front. And certainly Tracy Wagner is our Director of Teaching and Learning, and I'm sure she'd be interested in hearing more about this as well.
Brian, what about the EDP program? I know there was some talk about incorporating after-school programming that was accessible to sort of Ipswich kids and shuttle around and...
That's a possibility. We just hired the director. I'm going to talk about that during my report.
Great.
So I don't know about
That's
getting
good
that
news.
started right away, but certainly that's a possibility. Yeah. Yep.
So we've had some great integration this year with the Y and kindergarten swim, Patrick. And your first piece sounds, I mean, I can't think of a better skill to teach our kids than to learn how to swim when we're a coastal town, because this is something that will, you know, I am all for athletics and kids on the athletic field and teams, but I'm actually even stronger in support of kids being able to save themselves. I think that there's a parallel there with you guys as well, especially folks that may not have contact, you know, a more diverse population that may not have contact with the river and how to operate a canoe or paddle a boat. And frankly, they may find themselves in a situation where that could frankly save their lives. So, so I think that's an important piece and a welcome piece. I also am excited about the coming of the Coastal Education Center that the trustees presented on, I think even at our last meeting on June 3rd. And I'm excited about community groups like the trustees, like the Y, and like the Ipswich River Water Association, really saying, hey, we want to get involved with the kids of the community. So I think we will welcome more collaboration, and I'm thankful for that. But the swim piece and the canoe and the learn to paddle piece, I think are big. Thank you.
I think you hit on a good point with the YMCA piece. The YMCA has a mission to address low-income communities, and so that fits in well with the outreach to a broader community base. The YMCA is always seeking to address that community. It's part of their goals, and they have a good census for that population, so it might be a great outreach to the Y. And I like your idea of having, you know, an educational forum where you have the Coastal Education Center at the beach and the Rivers Educational Center at the Rivershed. That might make for a good field trip for more state communities to come out and hit both of them up in the same day. Might make a good full day elementary field trip. You could package those and really make a nice little setup. You know, in the shoulder seasons, the spring and the fall, when you'd have school field trips happening again, that might be a nice outreach. In the summertime, obviously, we just want to get people out there and enjoying the river. I think that's a great way to do it. And so Y would be a great place to start as well.
But I think you hit the nail on the head, and we do this in middle school, but not elementary. So earlier the better. So that's exciting.
Great. Well, thank you everybody for your comments and suggestions. I think this is all great.
So
I'm going to circle back with our education team, and we look forward to letting you know how this continues to grow. And yeah,
All right, great, thank you.
That would be really awesome if you could
And
read that.
I'm sure you guys do this, but they're like Audubon has a great camp series that they've done for many years that involves the river. So I'm sure there are a lot of resources that you could leverage with those to bring the same populations to both locations.
Thanks for coming on. Are there any other questions for Patrick? Emily, thank you for encouraging us. It's great.
Patrick, what was your last name? I didn't catch it.
Lynch.
Lynch?
Patrick Lynch.
Okay,
I'll send you his
Pretty
contact.
common name.
Yeah, good Boston name.
all right.
Well, thank you so much, everyone.
Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Have a great night.
Patrick Lynch.
Okay, next, I'd like one of our school committee members to make a motion for the permanent placement of a bench dedicated to Howie Bowen, who's had, this is a request by Joe Perna, our school resource officer, in the Ipswich Police Association. He has served the town. Well, I missed the foam hand. I don't know where the foam hand went. I haven't seen it in a while. But he used to come out with a foam hand. For 18 years, I think a bench is at that crossing piece is a perfect place for a bench. I knew.
He was also the head
he could've
custodian
used-
for 23 years prior to that at Winthrop, so he's been around for a
Yeah,
long time.
yeah.
And his
So,
wife was a very loved teacher in the schools.
Yeah.
Very much so.
phenomenal person.
Goes
and-
back to my day.
And a dedicated community member. And if we had the bench, maybe he wouldn't have sat in his car while it idled.
I'd move to support a bench in Howie Bowen's honor.
Second.
Any further discussion?
I would just say that the kind of last shift ceremony on Friday afternoon seemed really remarkable. The police department there, and how we got to take a seat, and people just came up to him and honked, and it sounded really excellent. So, and I sent up.
Yeah. You're right. Okay.
Roll call.
Yes.
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 Okay, that's unanimous. Thank you. And next, we have 13 grants to.
We have new member approval and the,
Oh, I'm sorry.
next.
Oh, is that next? Yeah, I'm sorry, I passed over that. We have two new members no, we have one new member, and our chair would
Yep.
like to be reappointed to the board. First, Heather Leonard, thank you for all the work you have done, you will do tonight. It's been duly noted by me every time you're here. It's fantastic, thank you. And then our other applicant is Ted Spinelli, a member of our community who's had a few kids in the cup too. You know, they're football players, right?
Yeah, yeah.
several students.
Yep.
Yeah. goes
So
through our
I'll
system.
make a motion to support
Second.
Ted. I've known Ted a long time. He helps me coach the little kids, and so his oldest is entering 8th grade. He has two sons that have not recently, have graduated. Very active in the community. His wife grew up here, so he's got real tight connections to the school, so I think he'd be a great fit.
Me as well. So it's moved by Greg. We're going with Ted first, I guess. Yeah? Did someone second that?
I second it.
And seconded by you.
I'm just, I missed a lot of stuff this year, but, I'm a little worried. So, I know there are different slots, parents, teachers, elementary, so would he be as a parent, or would he be like community business rep, or do you know?
I thought he was a parent. I would have
He
to.
is a parent, but he could be both, so I just didn't
I
know.
don't.
Jen
know.
Donahue's the business rep, I think.
Secondary parent.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Madam Chair.
That's well, but-
See? Thank you, Heather. Any further discussion on Ted's candidacy? Yes.
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 And I'd like to entertain a motion to reappoint Heather Leonard to the
I'll move.
Second?
Paying Grant Committee. Moved by Emily, second by Greg. Is there any further discussion?
She's amazing. She's a total asset to whatever she
Yes.
joins and whatever she does. And she's
Absolutely.
organized and smart and
Runs a
on
meeting like
point.
nobody's business.
Yep. Could rule the world if she so chose.
Thank you, Heather. So if there's no further discussion after that. Yes.
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 Thank you, Heather. That's unanimous. Very appreciative for your leadership this year. And I think we will turn to that part of the meeting. And typically the grants have been in everybody's package. We've had an opportunity to read them. Would you like to present a broad overview first, Heather? And I'd like to turn the floor to you, if that's okay.
Thank you for the kind words. It's been a maybe 3 years, so it went really fast, and I'm excited to continue with the work. I feel like I've learned so much about some of the incredible things that are happening in our schools, and then also this phenomenal resource that our town is so lucky to have. So I'm excited to continue to engage in this work and to hopefully continue to support the hard work of the teachers and educators in the district. So thanks. I hope it's okay that I can share my screen.
Oh,
The
thank
way
you.
that I organized it was to walk us through some of the different grants that were proposed and some of the key findings or the recommendations from the committee. Our job is to make recommendations to you. You get the final vote. So I don't know, Chair, if you would prefer to make a vote after each proposed grant, or if you'd like me to walk you through the committee's overview and you can make a decision at the end. That's certainly up to you.
We typically do it at each grant. We vote at each grant. Thank you.
Perfect. Okay. First of all, I have to shout out these incredible folks. While this committee does not necessarily meet over the course of the year when we meet, it is intense. There's a lot of time, and the incredible volunteers that gave their time to this and the hard work that they put in, because it's not just everyone being doing the meetings, the research inside of the meetings to make sure they're prepared. And a special shout out to Laura for all of her support behind the scenes and organizing all the documents. Down below, you'll see I was just putting it up front for our group for next year. Community just helped me remove the need for a secondary teacher, so thanks for that. We will be looking for a select board rep, a community business rep, and an elementary teacher and a secondary teacher rep each year. This is a little bit next to our fabulous Ms. O'Connell, who I agree with the sentiments that she is amazing, and just, we will miss having her on this committee and as an incredible teacher in district, so start tapping some shoulders and hopefully we can get some additionally engaged folks to join us in this work. But thank you to all the people who did. Okay, so here's a very quick snapshot overview of the dollar amounts. The $656,000 is how much is allocated. I may not have it down to the singular dollars, but that's about how much is allocated to the Payne Grant side of the FE's money. The requests and the applications for requests went up to $670,000, a little more than that. And the results of the committee's votes have us making recommendations to you for approval of $593,000. So that's your quick snapshot. The committee is recommending under what was allocated, and I know that there is still some work and some shifts happening with the use of remaining funds from previous years, so that's certainly, again, up to the school team to decide if that's something we're doing. I like to do this just a quick reminder because it helps to ground myself in this, but also anyone who may not be familiar with this amazing resource. Just as a reminder about where this money came from, the sale of the Little Neck land that was put into this trust, and the incredible folks who manage this trust who continue to make smart investments on behalf of our town allow this money each year come back to our schools. So that's a beautiful thing that we have, and I won't read it to you, but it is a nice reminder to review the mission statement of the Feffies. And the next piece I just wanted to pull out is this reminder, and this is all coming right from the Ipswich Public Schools website as a good reminder for us about what the money is intended to be used for, and equally as important, what it's not intended to be used for. So it's pretty clear that it's not intended to replace our typical operating budget. It's really looking to make improvements and looking for innovation and creativity and some of the things you can add. So it's not looking to supplement if there are, let's say, state budget cuts per se. So that is something that we keep in mind. What we also know is that there are significant strains on all public education. So that adds another layer of challenge, and I think the committee's recommendations, you'll see, I think you found a balance as much as you could to meet over these drivers. So here's the process that we took this year. All members had the opportunity to get trained on like what our job is and this information. So we just did that check-in so that when we started, we really kind of understood what our responsibility was. The Ping Grant applications were submitted, and I have to continue to shout out the amazing people who applied. It takes so much time and so much effort to complete an application, and they were just fantastic. So kudos to everyone who did apply. We used a common rubric and evaluated applications, and we also in advance submitted questions for applicants. And then we had the opportunity to have all the grant applicants come and give brief presentations to us. Some of them pre-answered some of the questions that we asked. And then finally, we met again about a week later to make our final recommendations, and that's what I'm going to share with you. So here's one of the first grants that we are going to share. It is the middle school, high school outdoor recreation space. They're requesting $192,500. This is an exciting grant. It did have unanimous approval from the Payne Grant Committee. So its targeted audience support is all middle school and all high school students. And the idea is that they're creating an outdoor space on the middle school, high school campus that's going to include both activity space and play space, as well as a potential outdoor learning space or a space that they could use to eat lunch. It is quite exciting, some of the proposals that they shared, and they briefly shared some of these mock-ups, which I just thought I would share with you.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So that interferes with the soccer field.
Middle school field,
Field
right?
hockey.
Field hockey and soccer field there, yeah.
I can't speak to that, I'm sorry about that, I'm not sure what, my understanding that is that it's primarily targeting a space that is not currently utilized, but Dr. Lake will be able to speak to that better.
I think it's back further toward the wood line where the project, the ropes course is, so it's pushed back further.
Yeah, it
Where
doesn't
the
look like
tent
it.
is and the
Yeah,
frozen
further,
stage.
further.
No, I know, but those areas are where the soccer field and the field hockey field extend for middle school sports, historically. So I understand where it is. I can see it clearly on the graphic, and that's
I
within
know
the,
that
that's
Tom
within the
was
existing
involved
field.
in the writing of this grant, so I'm guessing that he's aware of what the spacing requirements are.
That was my comment too. Tom wrote the grant.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen the idea of the basketball court down there, and I think it's a great idea. And there is room towards the parking area, but from what, this looks like it's a pretty big space. Okay.
My question about this one, Heather, was it said 12,000 square feet of space. Does that mean it's a 12,000 square foot pavilion, which would make that 100 by 120? For example.
I'm not, I can look that up, I don't have that
Okay,
information.
no
on
problem,
us,
no
so
problem, no problem.
I can look that
No
up.
problem, you don't have to. Okay, are you done with that part? I'm sorry, the first one's a little choppy, I'm sorry.
No,
Heather, on our part, not your part.
I might not, well, I might not have all your answers, I will absolutely ask any questions, so even if there is a vote that the school committee does want me to follow up with any questions, some of the information
Yep.
Any questions that I can't answer.
Sure, I understand. So I'd like to entertain a motion to approve number 6, the middle school high school outdoor recreation space. Moved by Pav, second by Kate. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor? Would you, do we?
We've-
Okay,
Hand raising
unanimous?
is fine.
And
Fine.
we've looked at a basketball court there since the building opened, as far as I can remember. In 2003, we talked about having a basketball court down there.
But it only took
So
a
it's-
pandemic to realize the importance of space like this for multiple uses.
Right.
So this is one of the benefits of the pandemic. Thank you, Heather.
You're welcome. I think that is something they definitely emphasize is how much classrooms love having a tent and that space to be outside and how much you want to support that. So. The next grant we're going to review is the Winthrop Flexible Seating Grant application. So this grant is seeking $31,659. And the goal is to take what had originally been a mini grant, which is now the commercial Weatherall,
Yes.
and scale it up to be school-wide, which is really exciting when you can see a grant that has the success of the grant and scale it to the next level. So, this is being proposed to support alternative and flexible seating or classrooms within the Winthrop school. And the folks who authored this grant actually worked collaboratively with their peers to see which type of flexible seating each of their colleagues would be seeking for their classroom, providing a variety of support for students in the classroom. And, oops, I thought I had an image for that, but I did not. I apologize. That was my fault. I missed it. They didn't share one. But it does have quite a few different types of seating that support different student needs. And it is also ranges with the ages as well. So what they may have needs for their classroom. And this is a grant that the committee did support with the
Move to support.
Second.
Further discussion?
I just had a question on the lifespan of the furniture and if we think it could be used in a new building down the road potentially.
As Barry Hopping
The
said.
range of application includes types of desks, which might include something like a standing desk, includes tables that can be used as actually a collaborative working space, different types of seating opportunities. Some things are what I would equate to what we typically utilize within a classroom, like a typical chair or desk, and others may be a shorter lifespan with some soft seating and other things that may have a shorter lifespan. That I imagine the replenishment cycle might be slightly shorter than a chair, but certainly not as fiscally impactful as they get some of the big pieces.
This is a great support for our co-teaching models as well. And the scaffolding that it produces in class. My son and his friends love it just because I think they take advantage of being able to move around, but it's awesome.
Okay, with any further discussion? We have a motion and a second. All those in favor? That's unanimous. Thank you, Heather.
It is so fun to be on time, isn't it? Okay, next one. This grant is a grant that if you have participated in the process of being grant for, this is your this week. You will actually see I put that in the upper left-hand corner. It was a question that has been asked. Can you feature which of these grants are asked for continually? So it's just something I thought that I might highlight.
I like that.
As a committee, as you consider how this grant is utilized, what is being approved for repeats, and where might that be less desirable. So just for you all as you consider that use of money. The Place Place grant is really seeking money to support all of those local opportunities and field trips
How much money, is there a motion in a second? Sorry.
Move to support.
Second.
Moved by Greg, second by Emily. Further discussion? My only question involves this grant from this year. Did you, I assume we didn't spend all that money.
We did not.
And do you know how
We did
much is
not.
coming back?
I don't know off the
Okay.
top of my head.
Okay,
But, yeah.
that's fine. All right, any further discussion? All those in favor? That's unanimous.
And
Thank
just
you.
going back to number 6, the outdoor space, I talked to Tom Gallagher just now, and he said that he modeled it out, and there's still enough room for the middle school soccer, field hockey, and the javelin throwing track.
Just not while there's people eating lunch.
Yeah, probably you don't want to be playing basketball during the javelin throw. It's pretty tight though for javelin if you're going to throw, I'm just saying.
Oh. Okay, well, thank you for that, Dr. O'Flynn.
So the next grant that we're gonna look at is the College Boot Camp Grant. This is also a request. This grant request is seeking $12,250. This is a boot camp that supports students as they're getting ready to engage in the college application process. We've done it for the last 5 years, and we've traditionally done 3 mornings, and we're looking to actually extend it to 5 days. This really supports students in their application process, supporting them in drafting their essays, and they seek the grant funding as they have done grant funding that is intended to offer as an opportunity for people to pay, and it's also a significant increase in participation, especially given this year and the dynamic that has changed in the way we are applying to schools and the kind of information that they have. It's more critical than ever that they need this support. So this grant was recommended to be funded unanimously by the
Heather, how did they come up with the number 70 as far as number of students? I mean, if we exceed that number, what happens?
They'll be
I think
they'll
that
be
based
fine.
on their participation from previous years, this has taken place for 5 years, so I think they're using their past levels of engagement, and also it is something that they'll offer
Yeah, I mean, I think 3 of my kids have gone through it, and 1 is about to, and it's super valuable.
Yeah, my son did it last.
But it's summer,
Yeah.
and the challenge of summer is kids are away at camp, they're away on vacation. They pick 1 week in the summer, and not every kid can go, and other kids have jobs and
Mhm.
Off we go
obligations
work.
they can't
Yeah.
do.
Emily?
Heather, is there a special education component to this? I'm sure a lot of kids on IEPs for various reasons need to work that into their either application process or part of the college search process. Is that addressed through this boot camp?
That's a great question. I don't think there's any exclusion, so I think it would support all students, and because it is their counselors that often pair with them, and do that some of them were actually reaching out to students and recommending and supporting them in engaging in this process. So, explicitly targeting that population, I'm not aware of that, but I do think it's a great question that I can share that with them.
Mhm.
Yeah, just making sure it's accessible to that group of students as well. Sounds great.
Entertain a motion for this?
Move to support.
Second.
Moved by Greg, second by Pav. Any further discussion? All those in favor? That's unanimous. We have said no, we've had to have asked for clarification, but it's a high bar to ask for that.
Mm.
Oh, we've said no a lot.
Yeah. No, I remember, but maybe it's,
Well, in previous,
I'm happy, I will say that our applicants have been incredible. We have shared back questions with them, and I've had nothing but timely responses. So if there are questions, whether or not you feel they need to vote, I'm happy to follow back up so that you have the information.
no, I do remember that too.
the other piece too is that in previous years, we've had more. The ask has been more than we've been able to fully fund, and so the school committee was in a position where we needed to make some critical decisions
true,
on what
too.
could be funded and what couldn't be funded, and we're not in that position this year.
Okay, the next grant application I'm gonna share is the secondary science labs grant. This grant is seeking $16,500. Indirectly, this will target and support the middle school and high school students. So I want to clarify the indirectly because it is something that came up as a question in the grant committee. So this grant is actually seeking funds to bring in a consultant. This consultant is somebody with expertise in the current curriculum frameworks in the area of science and technology. But it would also be somebody who would have expertise in facilities and, all the things that would go into renovating a public education facility. So this grant would fund the consultant coming in and providing design recommendations. This grant doesn't cover the cost of the recommendations, but is to have a qualified person come in, do the evaluation based on programmatic needs and aligning it with the current framework and making recommendations to the
And
the favorite committee did move this forward with unanimous.
So this is also a recommendation of our past NEASC visit to get our labs up to speed?
Yeah.
So,
It was partnered from the yes.
But is the construction of the ultimate construction or the eventual reconstruction of the lab something that a
Another
FEFI's grant could fund, or is that something we need to absorb into the
Well,
budget?
I think the thinking behind applying for this grant was that we want to have somebody from the outside look at the physical spaces at the middle and high school, make some recommendations, and then we can take it from there. If it's simply buying new, upgraded, updated equipment and things like that, that very well could be another FEFI's grant. If it ends up being things that we have to replace cabinets and, install sinks or whatever, then it would be a capital project. But right now, we're not sure exactly what we need across the board. And my thinking was that, with all the stuff, and we touched on it earlier tonight, with all the work that we're doing around the marine sciences and water and things like that, we have some great opportunities right now here in Ipswich to enhance things right in our labs. What about a marine biology lab, for example? Instead of just the run-of-the-mill chemistry lab or physics lab, what else can we do? So that was where I was trying to push folks.
Yeah.
So, I see the Institute for Savings athletic field. Maybe it's the Ipswich Bio Company lab.
Biolabs lab.
Well,
Perhaps, and here's a nice document to present.
yep, exactly.
If the recommendations are more capital, are we limited in what's already in the capital projects kind of pipeline?
No.
And then
No.
the review and this be
Nope.
stale
We
by the time.
review the capital projects every year.
Annually.
So by the time this project here would be done and we would have a report, it would certainly fall in line with the next cycle of capital planning. So
It actually,
it'd be fine.
yeah, is this if this is approved, is this project ready to go right away?
Yep.
And that's actually an excellent point. So it could fit in next year's capital plan if there was a need.
Yep.
I'll move to support.
Second?
Moved by Greg, second by Emily. Further discussion?
Heather, I was just going to say, I think the applicants did a really nice job of outlining the need for this. And I also think there was a sentence in there that said something about potentially having students involved in the process, which I think is a great piece of it that we should definitely pursue.
I remember the student charrette at the playground, Shark Tank. So this might be the place.
Oh.
That's what they wanted on the playground, Shark Tank.
There we go.
Love that.
Okay. Moved and seconded, no further discussion. All those in favor? That's unanimous. Thank you, Heather.
The next grant to share is the Ipswich Middle School Writing Grant. This grant is requested for the cost of $30,500. seeking funds to provide both assistance and learning, provide targeted professional development and training to middle school teachers in the area of writing, and also invest in curricular materials and courses to support the teaching of specifically targeting the content area of writing for the humanities teachers with that new shift in the instructional design that the middle school was having in humanities, and to move them all toward having a consistent curricular that they're utilizing. The Favorite Committee did recommend this unanimously.
Heather, I remember last year we didn't approve something similar that John Mitchell had proposed in talking about sort of aligning the writing curriculums between middle school and high school and sort of increasing rigor. Is this the sort of rewrite of that theme? Do you know?
That's a great question. So the grant that was not recommended for approval last year was seeking funds to send middle school and high school teachers to AP training. So these are courses that teach teachers who teach AP courses, ways to structure their instruction in a rigorous way. The recommendation was seen that, is that really appropriate for middle school, and is that the direction that we want to go, and that AP courses are a high school level course. So this is actually written to target middle school, but they focus on a trainer that specifically designed to support middle school, who the district has utilized in the past and has been really ready with, and also investment in curriculum tools that are actually good for middle school. So it is different author and different target.
Does it address the alignment concern that I know Kathy and John were working on, I think, all year?
I can't speak to that. This really was focusing on the middle school instructional level, so I'm not sure.
I think this will enhance that alignment piece.
From middle school to high school, or, I mean, it ties in a lot to the middle school, I mean, to the elementary school,
From the elementaries, right?
elementary
This
to
is,
middle.
this is for the middle school, so it's,
Right, but isn't it using the same writer's workshop
Yes, it is.
that the
Yeah.
elementary
Yeah.
schools use?
Curriculum
Yeah.
resources.
but it helps align all the way up through.
And I think it's also important because literacy is, old
An area
world
of
skills
concern.
is an area of concern. So this will bring back some old world skills, I hope.
Well, it's nice to see that, you know, the issue was worked on, and it seems like it was sort of reworked and sort of
Mhm.
revamped and, you know, still at the forefront of these grants. It's nice.
Yep. So we've had a second and a motion, I believe. A motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor? That's unanimous. Thank you, Heather.
I'll move to support.
I'll
Oh,
second.
we didn't have a motion in it. I'm sorry. So we're going to start the next one. We're going to ask for a motion and a second, and then we're going to talk about it.
So Greg, you made the
I made
motion on that
I
last
made the
one?
motion on the
I'll
last one.
second. Second.
Okay, thank you.
Moved by Greg and seconded by Emily. Let's revote again, just for all those in favor. That's unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you, Heather.
Okay, this is a new grant. This grant is called Higher Education, and this grant is requesting $13,000. So this grant is looking specifically to support college-bound high school students. It does target a smaller group of students, but it's really targeting a very specific group with a particular identified need. So the proposal for this grant looks to develop a partnership between Ipswich High and Northwood Community College, creating a dual enrollment class. So students would actually take the course during the school day as a semester-long class in the spring of 22, and they would earn honors high school and college credit for the course. So then it allows that transfer of getting credit, which is something that, especially for students who may be entering college for the first time, or might be seeking a community college path, getting some of those prerequisite courses and some of that credit is a real significant step towards likely of progressing towards a degree credit courses rather than just something that it is. So what this design would actually do is having a North Shore professor who teach a class along with one of our education colleagues. This is definitely targeting supporting students who could use that specific benefit in having that link
if I could piggyback on that, this is something that we did a lot of in Sanborn, the previous district that I was in. We did it with Northern Essex Community College, and we had 3 or 4 courses being offered, and then we had other opportunities for kids to go to Northern Essex to take classes. And it's not necessarily designed for your typical students that would normally go to college. It's to encourage those students who aren't quite sure that college is for them, or for students who are perhaps the first in their family to have an opportunity to go to college. And it worked out fabulously there. We had you know, some students over time who really worked at it, but they were able to leave high school with an associate's degree.
Wow.
So I'm excited. You know, Claire Powers and I have had conversations about this over time, and I'm glad to see that we're able to bring this forward.
Also, another benefit to this, now we're talking about it before a motion in a second.
You're the one that keeps doing
But
it.
another benefit to this is that it saves a couple of bucks too, for the college-bound family. I mean, if this program develops further, these are courses they don't necessarily have to pay for when they go to college. I think it's called Head Start, New Hampshire, right?
Jumpstart.
Jumpstart.
Yep.
I know I saw that with Nashua Community College in Peterborough, where I went, in the regional high school there. It was a huge program. I'm happy to see it. It's small here. I hope this grows.
Second.
Moved by Pav, second by Greg. All those, is there any further discussion?
I just think it's great. I'm a North Shore grad myself, my nursing degree, and I went to school with a lot of people who were first in their family to go to college, and it's a really intimidating process. And if you can get your foot in the door and take a few classes, it becomes a lot less intimidating, a lot more like, I can do this, you know?
Exactly.
And I think it's really helpful for people who don't have that background in their family, and can really give them the confidence to move forward.
Exactly. That's exact. It was a hook. I saw that at the regional high school. I actually worked at that regional high school, so on committees like this, it was awesome. Okay. We've got it. Let's vote. All those in favor? It's unanimous. Thank you.
I can't wait to see what comes of that. I hope it grows too. Okay, the next grant to share with you is the Creating Innovators Grant. This grant is written and requesting $93,611. This grant would again target that middle school, high school population and would get the implemented courses for schools. So this grant is seeking money to actually fund the creation of, they're calling it an innovation space. So it would create a room that's actually outfitted to support technology innovation and taking things beyond, having access to a smart board that when you do to like a next level of application. This grant would also include personnel. So they identified a computer science coach that would support grades 6 through 8 to integrate. They've done some work in identifying curriculum to support integration of computer science standards into different content areas. So this coach to continue that work. This grant is also written in a way that would supply digital tools and equipment, and also includes a component of having esports in the secondary level. Now, esports are actually really becoming something that many public schools are supporting as often as their more traditional sporting groups. And there's a lot of students that are involved, and it provides opportunities to be connected and engaged with peers and to compete in ways that might be different than what we traditionally think of as traditional team sports. But it is a growing field and something that this grant would support in addition to the space and the personnel. The Pingree Committee did vote to support this grant.
Treasurer Flynn?
Clarify for me the personnel component to this. FTE, teacher, not teacher, stipended, durability of this position.
Yep.
Good question. They're not seeking having someone that is a certified teacher that also has that expertise in the computer science area might be particularly challenging. So they are focusing on bringing in a person who has the computer science background. This grant was written for a single year with that position. That's as far as I can teach that. I don't have to go through.
Yeah, so it would be we're looking for essentially a computer science, like a coach that would be able to help out in running that room, do some basic coding with kids, get them ready for some of the upper level courses that are offered at the high school in terms of coding. Be able to facilitate and run the esports program that we're looking to.
So it's an
get
after-school
started.
program
Well,
with a stipended position of how much?
It's a staff member, so it would probably be a differentiated schedule. Come in at 10, work till, whenever, later in the afternoon. And they would have, variety of job responsibilities, but in a coaching role, not a teaching role.
Where did that fit? Where does that fit in the? It's not under the teachers union. It's a TA position. Coaches are under their own schedule.
Right.
It's a separate schedule.
Right. And that's
TAs
how
are under a
that's how
different
we envision
schedule.
this. At least that's how I envision it for the first year.
A coach.
Yeah.
So kind of like the athletic trainer stipended position. I'm just trying to figure out where it fits financially. Not so much this coming year, but a year from now.
Yeah.
Because we've always been very reluctant to add personnel unless they're very specific and part of a rollout program that we hope to implement in the district in the future.
I think.
So I'm looking for that
Yeah.
piece, that link to
Yep.
the next step.
No, I think it's a great question.
Where does it sit?
Yeah.
in the
So
big
I
picture?
think long term, we want to see how this first year goes with it.
Understood. That's great.
And then if the computer science piece takes off, we may very well be looking at a computer science teacher at the middle level as a course option for kids in
Specialist?
the future. I'm not sure.
That'd be, so I'm thinking middle school educational model.
Yeah.
That would be an 8th grade specialist maybe that does a
Specialist,
computer science
Mhm.
piece.
Right, like- Yes, tech ed, computer science.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Mr. Jewell does tech ed, but
Yeah.
computer science would be maybe a second
Yeah.
piece to that.
Yep.
I'm just trying to see how this fits
Mhm.
in.
So it's written as a full year-round, non-licensed position for a single year. One of the things it does note is that part of the responsibility of this person will be supporting the general education teachers who have had, some of whom have specific training in computer science curriculum that the district uses through code.org, and supporting them and implementing it as well, so that it appears that kind of coaching will be both supporting students in like the esports lens, while also looking for teachers in integration of computer science.
Yeah, I have zero problem with this conceptually. I think it's a great idea, and I love this use of the paying grant funds. I just need to know where it fits in the big picture of the long-term plans for the middle school and the computer science. If that's what you see it as, developing into a teaching position in a year with a computer science program, that's one thing. If it's an esports after-school program or some, I don't know, free block place for kids to practice code and play esports, that's different. I just don't know what it means.
Yeah.
As I want to understand that piece a little bit.
I think for the first year, we're gonna be exploring those pieces and see how it fits and how we can build it. Some of the thinking behind writing this grant was, one of the questions that I asked the leadership team, as we were coming into this process was, what do we wanna keep out of what we experienced with COVID? So, this was one of the ideas, was to build this, repurpose this room, so that we can do a number of things in it. It'll be set up so that we can continue to do Zoom sessions, bring in authors from the outside and have kids go write, entire classes work in that space. The coding is another piece to have students work with the coach and the code.org pieces that we've been utilizing. Getting the kids ready, we do have some advanced coursework at the high school that we're trying to set kids up to be ready for.
Right, there are two
So
different
there's-
AP computer science
Mhm.
classes
Yep.
that are out there that kids are taking, and
Yep. Yep.
they
So
want to
we're-
take, I think, more and more
Yeah,
want to
yeah.
take it, so I understand
So we
that
see
part.
this as an opportunity to continue doing some of the things that were successful during COVID. We see the esports as another piece that, you know, has taken off in the last couple of years in both public schools as well as colleges. So we want to, you know, see if we can provide that opportunity as well.
Does this follow through, and I don't know if this was pre-COVID, but I know at least in the 4th grade at Winthrop, they did a lot of coding this year. I think they
Mhm.
might have even started last year. The kids loved it,
Mhm.
loved it, loved it, loved it.
Yep.
And would this sort of track that through?
This fills in a gap.
Oh, that'd be awesome. Kids, oh my God, I think it was
So you have
one
it
of
in
my favorite
elementary,
things.
you have it in high school.
We do some code. We have the hour of code
Yeah.
and the hour of code week that we do in the spring at the elementary schools.
They did it, I think, as part of their weekly
Mm-hmm.
curriculums. I thought was awesome.
Yeah, I think from the administrative standpoint, I'd just like to see this lead to something, maybe in our override budget or maybe in our planning for
Mhm.
next year, if it is, you know, hitting fertile ground. Okay?
You bring up a good point, Mr. Oakland. I had very similar questions when there was the application for the world language teacher that was initially actually funded through the main grant that is now part of the operating budget. So this for me echoes.
Oh, yeah, no, that was the first thing we ever approved, I think, with people in it.
Yeah.
That
It
was.
was.
I think it's important to
The
note
bridge
that
program.
you know, that it is
Map.
actually written on there that it is, you know, it is allowed to do a staff member, but I think you're right, I think it obviously would be inappropriate for us to assume that we could continually fund a position, but I think the beauty of innovation is that if we can take a risk and give it a try, with funds that are really designed to that, to see if there is a organic opportunity that we built in. So this echoes to me the world language that may have been the groundwork for doing that.
Okay, thank you.
I don't think we had a motion and a second.
Move to support.
Moved by Hughes, second by Pav. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor? That's unanimous.
And I think generally, we should look, as a committee, skeptically on personnel.
Yeah.
And make sure it's rigorously, tested. Because, adding people through this mechanism is not the standard of education that we have right now. It's an innovation piece, not a standard place to hire.
Great.
Understood.
The next grant being proposed is the Poet in Residence grant. This grant is seeking $14,050. This would support specifically English students at the high school, which is students of English classes at the high school. So the idea is to, previously, if I can provide a short context, they have them authors in residence. Sometimes it is difficult with an author in residence if you have authors who have written long novels that students may or may not have read, or requiring students to read a particular novel that takes a substantial chunk of time that may or may not be aligned to a course purpose. The beauty of poetry is that it can be short and can be integrated cross-curricular, so it allows you interactions with the literacy type that this person would be engaging with, while helping to develop so many of the writing standards and the impact on language and writing and literature and such that we support writing across all kinds of areas and grade levels. So this grant is seeking to have somebody be connected with the high school. It would meet 3 or 4 times throughout the 7th semester with any classes that the teacher has opted in to participate. And actually also include an after-school activity during the month of April, which is Optimism Week, poetry, to give students the extra opportunity to engage with this. This grant was approved with the recommendation from Cambridge. There was 1 vote against. That particular vote raised the concern that this grant doesn't illustrate how knowledge and material is readily transferred to colleagues and may not be sustainable over time, which is an aspect of the rigor that we evaluate. So I did just want to make sure
entertain a motion.
Second.
Moved by Pav, second by Emily. Is there any further discussion? Oh. All those in favor? It's unanimous.
So our next follows a similar vein. This is a grant requesting a composer residence.
Oh,
This grant is seeking $12,750 to support a composer in residence. This proportion supports students that are involved in orchestra across all levels, so impacting approximately 300 students. So this, what they'll do is what they're seeking is a composer who will actually have a musical piece commissioned to write for Ipswich. So this piece is actually being written and designed to support Ipswich Public School students in orchestra, and being written so that students in the 4th grade, students in the middle school, and students in high school will all have a piece that they grade a good level of challenge to allow them to play together and as a Ipswich orchestra. This piece can then actually be played by other anybody at any other orchestras, and it will be noted that it was actually written for Ipswich Public Schools. This would actually also allow the students to meet a real composer who's currently composing and allow them to have a piece that is customized. This grant will say
So this is, I think back to the Starship One composer that came up from Cape Cod. I don't know if
Yeah.
you were here. Were you here for that?
I mean,
Maybe
yeah.
you may not have been. It was awesome. He did a piece similar to this. He's the guy that did the Star Trek theme song too. So he's, people.
It's a long time ago.
Yeah, but people like us, you and I,
Yeah.
remember that. And
That was like 1960s.
that was a really, that was a
Joe, not
night.
that old.
That was an incredible night when they premiered that to a packed audience. It was, it was this highlight. It was a strong moment. So I see this happening again. The only unfortunate part is we don't own it, so we can't sell it, right?
That was my next question, is what happens with the ownership of this? Does this become
Yeah,
school-owned intellectual property, and can it be used multiple years by orchestra as they
Yeah,
go through classes?
that's a question.
Yep.
Do you know that answer to that, Heather?
I don't know. It's not. I don't believe we own it, but it was commissioned on our behalf. So I believe that our orchestra is limited from using it. I will get clarification on that.
Be great if we started doing these things and all of a sudden owned them and sold them. Excuse me.
Or even the ability to just
Fund the
retain
music
rights to
department.
use it in the future.
Mhm.
I don't know how you purchase sheet music and what the licenses that come with that, but it would be nice if it were an ongoing project that could be enjoyed by many ages and
My-
generations.
My anticipation, expectation would be that we, as the commissioning school district, would have access to be able to use it indefinitely. But it would be the intellectual property of the author. I can't imagine that for $12,000, they're just gonna give us a song that we can then turn around and sell. That's,
Jimmy Cliff sold all his stuff for $1,000.
you know.
It would be thrilling. I mean, I love the Old Town Band concert. And I'm hearing Starship One playing in my head right now. I've heard it so many times.
Yeah.
And it's so
Mhm.
thrilling for the little ones and the big ones to play together. And
Right.
I love the idea of a piece for all of them to play.
We need to revive the piece that we already commissioned and get that aired again. That was just a couple of years ago.
Well, I mean, we haven't had an Old Town Band concert since then because.
Has it been, was that only 2 years ago?
2 years ago is when we had.
That was
yeah,
so good.
That was amazing.
And,
Yep.
and the composer
It was great.
just was so delighted, and that just brought so much more buy-in just by that composer's excitement.
Mhm.
It was a good night. So
We have a motion.
I'd like to entertain a motion.
Move to
and
support.
Second.
Moved by Greg, second by Kate. Any further discussion?
Heather, I'm a little unclear. It seems like I fully support this. I'm just, it seems like it was written for a specific composer, but then that composer's not available for 4 or 5 years. So is this money we're approving for a different
That's right.
composer, and then they hope to apply again 4 years down the road?
Fantastic question, yeah. So originally they had hoped to work with a composer who it turns out really is so hooked that you have to book them in advance 4 or 5 years out. This money is not go to that. The impression I got is that they had the idea, as a seed idea, they heard that composer, but then realized what a fantastic idea it was, and then considered another group of local composers to reach out to. So they do have some possible names of more local composers that will be available through this.
That-
As a community, we know we cannot promise funds beyond what is allocated for us within this fiscal year, so.
Okay.
My suspicion is this is a chance for them to try or structure, and to see what is successful and what works. But this doesn't approve anything beyond this happening, this
The-
next year with the local composer who will do it.
The composer that they originally sought out responded to Michael's post on social media
That's
about
correct.
one of our performances that was posted publicly.
That's right.
And she reached out to him and said, wow, very impressive. And so they started a dialogue, but unfortunately that composer was booked out for 4 or 5 years.
So 4 or 5 years from now, are we gonna see that composer?
Probably.
That would be nice.
We should book
That
her.
would be nice.
Great.
Interesting.
Super.
Retaining talent. I remember that as a community concern. It seems like
Mhm.
this
Yeah.
works towards that.
Mhm.
That's great.
Imagine that.
Imagine that.
We did.
We did.
Yeah, we just need to vote.
Now we've discussed. Shall we vote?
Mhm.
Yes.
Let's vote. All those in favor? It's unanimous. Thank you.
And I just checked my phone and I have a recording of that piece from years ago. If anyone wants to see that, I recorded all of these.
I just want the Christmas concert to take
That's a
me
good
back.
one.
I know it's the-
You can send that to me again.
I will do that.
Thank you.
So our next preliminary review, again, following the artistic vein, is the artist in residence. We have a poet, we have a composer, and now we're going to look at an artist in residence. This is a little bit different in the structure. This grant is seeking $53,400. So this is really written to support and impact contributions to state class. So specifically, this grant supports position to support the additional interest in the visual and media arts classes at the high school level. They saw a massive increase in interest in classical enrollment from students and do not have the capacity to meet all of those needs, which means students that are over the age of the capacity to away. Additionally, they're seeing this position as having space and opportunity to support some of the content gap that may have been missing when students were able to have directed art classes during more remote and hybrid learning. So they're seeking this as an opportunity to both fill and complete additional sections of courses that they cannot otherwise, while also enhancing opportunities for students who may have missed other things during the most recent 16 months of this time. The
Good.
committee did recommend approving this unanimously.
Same question. Teacher, not teacher? What is this?
Teacher.
2-section teacher, 3-section teacher, 0.6?
It's in the grant, I believe.
I don't know what it stands for, but it says, artist in residence teacher M3 stat and the teacher contract.
And it's a 1.0.
So it sounds like a full-time additional staff member,
District-wide for next year.
district-wide for 1 year only? It's an
Yes.
interesting hire.
I'm sorry?
Is there someone in mind, or is that?
Yes.
Okay.
Can the plan be then for this to possibly, like the world language program, this would turn into a position which would then be part of it?
Yeah, because it sounds like a full-time teacher that you'd be adding.
It is a full-time.
It's not like the other one, which is an experimental thing.
Right.
This is regular
Right.
teacher. So can you provide clarity?
We're getting there.
Yes, we're looking to fill a gap for next year because of the increased interest in some of our visual arts programs that we don't have the current capacity to fill. And to also work with the elementary and middle school programs to do some support work there for 1 year. And then we're gonna see how it fleshes out for the future.
There's some mini grants along this line too.
Which one?
Some mini grants that are sort of supportive of some of these goals.
Yeah, this is just different. This is, like, the other one was a new program, it's a computer science program that was being brought in. This is a district-wide extra art teacher. Who's gonna be the supervising administrator? Is that high school or Jerry?
Jerry supervises that department.
So he'd be
Oversees
doing
that
the hire
district-wide.
on that. He'd be doing the
Yeah.
hire on that?
Yeah,
And they would traverse all buildings?
yes.
I'm trying to figure out what
No.
it is.
It's innovative and creative.
It is. Trust me on this one.
And it's nice to have the Feffys help fund the test drive, frankly.
Do we think this increase in interest is a blip or
Yes.
we do? Okay. So we don't anticipate this position from more than a year?
More than likely not.
Okay.
That is correct. Thank you.
You're welcome. I
Is there
d- I
any-
th- sorry.
Go ahead.
I found it interesting that the applicant for the grant did not include the high school fine arts stuff. But it seems like that's what this position would be doing a lot of, unless okay. So I just find that odd. That's my question.
I'm sorry, I can't speak to that at all.
That's okay.
Sorry.
Any
It doesn't
further-
need an answer, it was just an observation.
One, I'd like to entertain a motion.
Second?
Moved by Pop, second by Emily. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor? It's unanimous. I think that was unanimous, right?
Yeah, I had my hand up first
Okay,
before the
I'm
head
sorry,
scratch.
I only saw the head scratch.
I'll do this hand from now on.
No, stop.
And as I mentioned, I definitely don't have all the answers, but I am happy to follow up. So if there are committee members who have a question you'd like me to follow up with, I'm happy to do so. If I'm thinking tonight, email, I'm happy to make sure that I follow up, so you feel like there's some development. So the next grant that is being shared is the request for a private cosplay grant. This grant is seeking $15,000. This population that is supported by this grant would be the early childhood education and high school students. So by that, for those who don't know, there are students who can engage in coursework at the high school to allow them to get experience in possible future jobs in the area of early childhood. So this is supporting the children that are involved in the Tiger Map program, and then indirectly the students who, as a high school student, who might be involved in supporting the Tiger Map. So, the grant would actually fund the development of a fenced-in playground area located in middle school, high school. So while they're currently there, they don't actually have a dedicated play space. So their current play space just happens to be outside where middle school and high schoolers happen to be playing and running around. And they did connect with the team that made the request for the middle school, high school outdoor area as well. So this was done in partnership with their plans and development. I do have a quick visual to share with you to give an idea of what they're looking for with the planning structure, and then also the was approved by the committee with one vote opposed, and that introduced some concerns that I did want to share with school committee. Those identified were that the grant isn't necessarily, one of the tenets of the grant is that and the perspective was from the person who did the quote is that it doesn't necessarily fund Ipswich resident students because the children involved in Tiger Tots are the children of Ipswich public school staff. So may or may not be Ipswich residents. And the additional note is that it's more of a benefit, it's like it's considered a benefit for staff, so staff who work there have the benefit of having a child care supported on site. And the final is a high school students that are supported, aren't themselves using the structure, and so it's going to provide that funds. This grant was voted to be approved, so another post.
So even though they're not our Ipswich kids, they're kids of teachers who get this benefit and stay, you know, this is another retainage
Yeah, it's a
grant.
big benefit.
So I
We
think,
did get, that question was asked by the committee, so we actually, if you, would give me this moment, there's I can actually give you numbers on how many students over the last 5 years have been Tiger Tots and how many actually stayed in district if they were out of district, or essentially how many moved on to continue on as a public school student. I believe it's about 66%, but
Wow.
everyone is sort of
no, my point was though that this is a benefit for our teachers. It helps retain our teachers, so it enhances and enriches our students' lives by keeping good teachers.
I'm conflicted on this one since my wife works at Tiger Tots, but I can tell you that it's an incredibly busy place with a huge number of kids participating. It's been a remarkable success.
Emily?
I can't imagine a Tiger Tots program without a playground, but I did have just a question. Is Tiger Tots for profit? I feel like I remember there was some cost of tuition going up or something. Do teachers pay?
Teachers
pay.
do pay, yep, it is a
And
paying.
So it is for
And the
profit.
It is
people
a
get
paying
paid.
program.
Yep.
It has been supplemented in the past by the school district because of COVID and things like that. But typically, they run very lean. To call it a profit center, they may have a profit of $1,000 a year or something like that, I think.
I know the pay
It's
rate
not much.
for people who work there is not as high as
Yeah.
you want
It never is in early childhood, but.
But yes, the teachers do pay.
So is there any conflict with the pain grant allocations?
I don't think so.
It's kind of a unique,
They're quasi, they're quasi-affiliated with the district. I
So
don't-
Cheryl Forster set it up when she had a bunch of teachers going out on maternity and she couldn't keep the teachers.
no, I know all that.
There was an incredible value to the district.
Mhm.
And it's really only grown since then.
Yeah.
It's never floundered. It's always been busy and especially this last year or two. It's been
Mhm.
busy. So they need it. They need it.
I understand that we try to kind of keep money in certain buckets. Is Tiger Tots sitting with a cash balance now?
Yes.
And how big is that?
No?
I don't know that.
Greg? No?
It's been a while since we
Bill,
looked at those numbers.
Bill Frangemore is on, there you go.
No,
Bill?
thank you, Bill.
Bill's hiding in the background.
He's not hiding, he's right out in front.
What's the line in?
There's $16,000 in the revolving account right now.
And does there need to be a spend down of a portion of that to get to where we want to be as far as cash at hand at the end of the year?
Nope.
The revolving, well, the service takes in money and pays out salaries. And as of the end of fiscal 19, it was about $36,000 or so in the account. It went down because of COVID, obviously, but the balance is going up right now. There's no target per se. The service, Tiger Tots makes money at the end of the year, about $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 a year.
for
And
themselves.
additionally, I was wrong in my number. 76% of the Tiger Parks of the last 5 years have continued on as district public school students. And the other thing that wasn't mentioned is that this money that is being sought is not fully covered, so they're expecting themselves to have to fundraise an additional $5,000 to complete funding.
Move to support.
Second.
Moved by Greg, second by Emily. Is there any further discussion?
Should I recuse myself on this?
Yes.
Am I working,
Yes,
sir?
please.
I'm
Are you
unclear
gonna
where
play
this is
playground?
located.
Oh, cafeteria.
Right outside the cafe.
No, I know where the program is, but the.
Right outside the cafe.
And that's not gonna impact the other gazebo we
The
put in?
gazebo, the middle
It's
school
on the other
field.
way. It's the other way, towards the
Yeah.
smokestack.
The,
And it's closer to the building, it's not
Okay.
out in the fields.
What's the octagon thing called again?
I don't know, but I know what you're talking
Not
about.
near the javelin throwing. which is-
Okay.
Right, not near the
Sure.
javelin.
Just
And
making
they
sure.
consult together, so they are aware, and that was done in collaboration.
Fabulous. All right. We'll go to a vote.
Mm-hmm.
All those in favor? It's
And I
so
abstain.
unanimous, with one abstention.
This is the final grant application of the evening. This grant was being sought through on the district public schools website. The request was made for $77,600. This grant was written to support all district public school students and possibly alum. So what this grant was written to do was to seek funding to support working groups that would collect information towards building a more robust and responsive district public schools website. So the funding would actually pay for folks' time within some of the working groups, pay for some of the different designs and redesign of the actual potential website, and additionally cover the cost of the annual cost that is incurred by the district for the first year for the hosting of a website. This really came from feedback that they were saying that people are finding difficulties with the public school website and seeking alternative ways to try to get and build a new one. The committee voted unanimously against recommending filling this grant. Primarily, the perspective of the committee is that the grant does not align with the purpose. The committee's feeling is that it's not directly student facing, and the primary purpose of the grant is that it's impacting district public school students. And the perspective of the committee is that the majority of district public school students are not actually interacting with the website itself. The committee also felt that the annual fees, which should be considered part of the operating budget, and it doesn't feel appropriate for the grant. And additionally, the committee felt that there were too many questions about what the need really is and what the cost would be reasonably to accompany this grant.
So that's why you have money left over, money to give back then, correct?
Yes. Yep.
Heather, how much are the annual fees?
They were pretty substantial in this proposal and far more than what's currently being paid. I can actually pull up the specific number of the fees.
I'm just curious because I don't think I agree with the not student facing. If this is a resource for families in the community, I don't see how that's not benefiting students, particularly if it's a centrally located, more accessible tool. It's a marketing tool that brings people to our district. It's the face of our district in an increasingly internet-based world. It's, I guess, I don't know, it's necessarily, depending on what the design would be innovative and creative, I don't know if there would be an opportunity for student participation in this, but I don't know that I agree with the Payne Committee on the not student-facing part.
The annual fee that they put into this grant is $30,000.
30,000?
That's a big number.
Yeah.
We almost could argue like the last one didn't directly benefit students, but it
Right.
benefited staff.
And the
This may
district.
not benefit students directly, though it could a little bit more than that last one, but it's making our constituents and families happy and better connected. This sort of argument I could see.
A resource center like open door hours and free programs like Ipswich Watershed and
And it seems like it would link with a lot of things
Yeah.
that students
Mhm.
might access, like
Yeah, so
Aspen
the,
and,
so the other, that's the other piece, is that a lot of, what the anticipation is that a new website would be able to take over. And so you wouldn't have, for this website, it would be the $30,000. And I don't have the numbers with me, but, you know, we would be able to do away with Blackboard Connect, for example, because everything would be able to go through that. And some of our other systems that we utilize in the schools would also become absorbed in this. So it's not necessarily an additional $30,000 on top of, you know, $10,000 a year for Blackboard and, you know, $5,000 for, you know, for any other programs. The anticipation is that they would, the cost would come down and be more in line.
I've been on the committee for 4 website redesigns. Each one was urgent and necessary and supposed to improve everything. And none of them really met any of those goals, as far as I can tell.
So this is something that I've heard about since the day I walked through the door, about our website being clunky, hard to manage, hard to update, who's in charge, you know, how do you go about updating information? The web pages don't always jive, and what do you do with old information? And so this was an attempt, I think, on the tech guys, to get me off their back, in a sense, to try to figure out, okay, you know, we hear Dr. Blake, we hear some members in the community. The grant is written and designed to sit down with constituent groups and say, what is it that you want on in the website? What does a good website look like to you? What is it, you know, what kinds of components? What do we need it to do? And then utilizing all that information to move forward with a company, bid it out, and have it built and launched next year. So that's sort of the backstory on that.
That is a piece that they come up in the conversations was, it's one thing to have the website, structure actually be supported, but then the question is who's responsible to keep it current and updated? Because you can have a beautiful website, but who's the person that's responsible for updating it and keeping it current and have that information? And this does not necessarily account for that. So that was a piece. And the language of student facing really came from the fact that we have a student who is on committee this year, and they able to speak to what students use to get their information. So that's where that language came from.
Yeah, I mean, I know Bill Hart made it a big issue to give us a brand new website, spent a ton of money on it, spent a lot of time. I think Rick Korb spent a lot of time, a lot of money on a new website, and then we had one when I first came in that was redesigned a couple of times in conjunction with the town. So I know we've had consultants and experts. Times past, it's been 20 years, so websites are changing too. But it is something that people perseverate on.
One of the things that I saw in the presentation of this grant, so
Yeah.
one of the things that I found really surprising, and I am going to probably screw up the numbers, Heather, but they showed a graph of monthly average hits on our website, monthly average hits on somewhere more Manchester, Essex, I can't remember which one. Ours spiked like last March with the pandemic. Everybody's like, oh my God, what's happening? But our average was quite low. But that month it hit like 5,000 or something like that. But Hamilton, Wenham, or Essex, again, I don't remember who we're compared to, they have that every month. You know,
So they utilize it as a tool and
Right.
it's a very easy, accessible, understandable, and so they have tons of traffic all the time.
Link into the live streaming of
Yeah.
the sporting events that we liked so much this year.
So that was a graphic that really hit me.
do you want to ask Keith and Amy to come in and talk about this?
It might be something to put in the regular budget as a budget item instead.
Well, I mean, the issue is that, you know, while it's important, you know, a $70,000 price tag is a lot to put in the budget.
So,
That's why
sorry,
it hasn't been there before.
the 70,000 is just for the development. It's not inclusive of an annual fee.
It includes the first year.
All right. So how much less if we remove the annual fees for all the other programs?
I responded to that earlier. I don't know the number. I don't have I know Blackboard is, I'm making up numbers.
Yeah.
It might be $15,000 a year that's baked into our budget as a, you know, as a piece.
So
Absolutely. Can't Bill pull
that'd be
that up?
another
Google
reason.
Classroom.
I don't know if Bill has it
Is it all
available.
Google Classroom stuff we're doing? And that's all,
Google
kids
Classroom is, yeah, but I mean,
That's
that's
a
part of the Google
student-facing
Suite
side.
for that, yeah, but that's
That's
not our
a
website.
So that begs another reason that perhaps we should table
Yeah.
this one, get some further clarifying information from you on any savings we could achieve
Yeah.
on the 77,600.
Yeah. Yeah, we can see exactly what-
And then invite Keith and Amy in
Yep.
to talk about.
Yeah, I'd like to see their vision. I mean,
Yeah.
I would I'd defer to what they think is best, and I think having them come in and kind of give us their vision for how this would all look would be worthwhile.
Okay.
Bob, did they present to you, Amy and Craig? Amy and Keith?
I think they
I
submitted.
have a feeling, Heather, I have a feeling that it was maybe Keith or no, I can't remember.
It was
It's
Keith.
Keith.
I'm sorry, I was having a hard time hearing.
I'm sorry.
He did, we actually had to move our date of our meeting, and unfortunately, Amy had a conflict. Well,
Right.
let's Keith that came to present the information.
So let's ask them to come in, let's table this one if that's
Yeah.
the pleasure of the
Yeah.
committee.
I'd love to
Yeah.
see some examples of like Manchester,
You can get us
or,
some
you know,
Yeah.
other
annual
examples
savings.
Yeah.
of what it could be like.
Yep, I can do that.
So the one caveat, just to be mindful of, with the savings and the operating budget being a different place that you would have from the grant. And just to make you aware, and there is a safety net that has now been built in, so approval of this would actually take you over what was allocated for this single year, not find much at all, actually, but digest enough. So that might trigger a next step in a process that I don't believe has happened before, where the school committee would have to request to use the
Yeah, and we actually have
That'd be a good
mechanisms
problem
in
to
place.
have.
Right.
Yeah, it's a good
Right.
problem to have.
So
Okay.
that's it. So that's it for me. You have a few more people that we're looking to fill, and I'm hoping we can recruit those folks before we start out next spring. So if you have a friend or a neighbor or somebody who's just in the curiosity about this, well, it is a good amount of time, a relatively concentrated amount of time, and we work really hard to make sure everybody knows in advance and they can schedule it appropriately. And I work really hard to make sure that our time in the meeting is spent efficiently, so we really feel like we just know everybody's time is everybody's.
Every single second is accounted for. And I thank you for that. Absolutely, yep.
The last piece I did just want to give you a heads up is, I'm really excited to be able to continue this work, and something that I do hope to do is, support and facilitate more teacher applications. So it is exciting to see the range of interesting areas that we're covering, like the arts and learning and physical facilities and STEM, and there's a lot of rich pieces, but something that I personally hope that I can support and work to get ideas from you all is helping to get more teacher requests in there. So we have a pretty solid representation from our administration, so that's something that is hopefully a project that we can really support getting some of those teacher voices in. So just wanted to share that because I think there's probably a lot of really exciting potential things that kids are really hard because the process is overwhelming. So I'm hoping I can look at that next year and we get to use some really cool stuff.
Great.
But that's all I have. So
That's-
thank you so much for the time tonight. I appreciate it.
Oh, Heather,
Happy to follow up if anyone has any questions.
we appreciate all that you've done for us and the Feffys. You've been phenomenal. Thank you. Great leader.
Just as an overview comment for new people, when this first happened, this first Payne grant approval process went forward, it was mind-blowing. It's routine for us now, but the fact that we've got all this money that we can kind of like put aside for special innovative projects every year, it's really a really special treat, so appreciate it for what it is.
Yeah, and we do take it for granted locally maybe, but hopefully you'll get to go to the MASC conference this year, Jeff. And I know I was pleasantly surprised to get a 5 or 10 minute presentation by an MASC staff member talking about the unbelievable opportunities that Ipswich has. It's like a national thing. It's incredible.
Chubb, why don't we get a presentation of the mini grants? There were some really incredible mini grants presented and approved this year.
We should. So that's a good idea. That's a good idea.
Summer workshop.
We'll talk about it at our workshop, but at a meeting.
I'd love to hear it.
At a
They're
meeting.
really cool.
At a meeting, not at our workshop, at a meeting.
Yeah.
Because our
Well, the
workshop
other
really
piece is
isn't attended by the public, although they're invited.
No,
So-
no, I meant for us to figure out where to work that in, not for.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. No, I get it. I get it. Well, we can put that on as an agenda item. I think that's a great idea.
There's really cool.
I just add, kind of in line with what Heather was saying, one of the things that fell by the COVID wayside was that we had planned this fall, I think, last fall, to start having a school committee member go in the first week before the students arrive and speak to the teachers to explain the grant process somewhat. Because it can be intimidating if you don't know, like, how do I go about it? What is this grant? You know,
Right.
So I think we had proposed having a school committee members go to each of the schools or to, I guess, the new staff orientation and just kind of walk the process a little bit.
Yeah, especially with the new principals. I know the elementary school
Yeah.
principals were huge supporters of
Mhm.
this.
Because
That's
we do
gonna
want to
be,
encourage our
yeah.
educators to
Those are
feel
cool.
empowered
Embrace
and
it.
excited
Right.
and write those grants.
Mhm.
Those are great opportunities for both of our subcommittee chairs on that. Great opportunities. It also gets the school committee in front of more people
Mhm.
too.
I'll go with you, Bob.
It's a great,
You are now.
Okay.
But I think it would be great.
Yeah.
Because it is an
yeah,
intimidating process.
I agree. And when you go in I was in the mini grants for a couple of years and it's intimidating for me even just to enter into it, but once you're in the world, it's eye-opening and mind-blowing. I think you should use that word, mind-blowing, but it's great. Okay. Has Heather gone? Thanks again, Heather, if you're
Thank
still
you.
here.
Great marketing thing on the new website, link up into the.
There you go. There you go.
right.
In special, what?
Go ahead.
In special acknowledgements, I forgot someone, and that's Bill
Well,
Frangimore.
he's up next. I
He's
was
the
gonna
only-
insert him here.
He's the only guy I know retired twice in a year, right? First from Drake and now from us.
Yep.
So, Bill, you've been incredible this year to step in and help us. You've been nothing but willing and able, and I can't appreciate your input more. And we're all very appreciative. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I
I've done
also,
it without the staff, Janet, Liz, Cindy, Laura. Without them, it would have been a nightmare.
Yeah.
for
And-
sure.
And this is your last meeting, so it's been a really great ride. And I've noticed he's riding his BMW motorcycle to work from Manchester every day. So he gets a great ride twice a day.
Right.
It's been a pleasure working in a district where the school committee supports the administration, the superintendent, and the staff. And people support each other, and there's a higher level of cooperation here than I've seen in my career. This has been terrific.
Great.
Thank you.
you.
We also have Cheryl Herrick, Stella Herrick on the line. She's on the phone. I don't think she's able to turn her camera on. But our new finance director, who has been transitioning in over the last 2 weeks, right, Cheryl? And so she'll be joining us full-time on July 6th. So if you're still on the line, Cheryl.
I am, thank you, Dr. Blake.
All right. So Bill, why don't you give us your last finance update?
And do.
Everything's fine. Done.
We're good.
Everyone's doing a great job.
In your packet should be a budget update. As of 22nd. We have $7,000 left in the budget. We have about $736,000 encumbered. The encumbrance should cover the rest of the expenses for this fiscal year, basically, a week and a half. Budget's in great shape. The $1.2 million was transferred out of the budget into the operational stabilization account, and the 200 and change, 224, was moved to the special ed stabilization account. We're going to get to those balances, but so far there's no surprises. We've got the money set aside. We haven't taken any money out of school choice yet, so if we need to for health insurance or any other smaller expenses, we might be able to do that. Otherwise, budget's all set.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Bill.
sir.
Thank you.
Okay.
The next thing is, you have a very good food service director. She has raised participation, and this report is as of the end of May. So in May, the 50% increase compared to April of lunches served, 34% increase in breakfast served. The program made $20,000 in May. So right now, we have a balance, a positive balance in cafeteria, well, there's a positive balance in cafeteria revolving account, but just in terms of profits and losses for this school year, the program has made so far $13,437. That's with hybrid learning, a bunch of, a significant reduction in the student population. Kids coming back in April made a big difference. The state and federal reimbursements are all at the free reduced lunch rate, which is $3.41 per meal. That's one of the reasons why the program is making money. Participation is up. Megan is terrific.
So you were at a loss as of January 1, and now she's turned into a profit?
Okay, it was for full disclosure. Yes, I projected a loss, and I intentionally erred on the side of caution. I projected a $20,000 loss. Well, it was $40,000 in April, $20,000 in May, and I think we're going to break even. Probably, so we're going to break even.
Fabulous. Great.
Okay, the last thing is the quarterly report, and we've been trying to keep a running total, and the differences between the June 23rd report and the March 15th report is that the last column that says differences, and I tried to provide some rationale for the variances. Now, I'm not trying to be smart or anything else about saying that we had expenses, but I wanted to focus on expenses for that particular item rather than an interest payment or a gift or anything like that. So basically, the million came out of the budget to go to stabilization, the 224 for special ed. There's some increases here in the T29 and T31. Right now you have 3.9 million in stabilization and 623,000 in special ed stabilization. The rest of the account balances are stated. The $166,000 was taken out of choice for some payments. And if you have any questions about the quarterly report, I'm more than happy to answer them, but that's it.
Does anyone have any questions for Bill?
Thanks so much, Bill. Welcome aboard, Cheryl.
Thanks, Bill.
Live long and prosper.
Oh. You've been reading the Boston Globe. They had a great piece on Leonard Nimoy's son wrote a piece in the Globe last week.
It was fun.
Yeah, it was great. We really enjoyed having you, and Cheryl, we really look forward to working with you. Welcome aboard. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. We met in executive session on, have I skipped? I haven't skipped any.
next?
On the superintendent's contract request. we should vote, we need to vote in public session. Would you like to mention anything, or shall I just mention the requests? Is that how we do it?
No, I think you just mentioned the request and take a
Yep,
take a vote.
that's
In
fine.
non-public session, I presented some information to the school committee regarding not only my work this year, but experience looking at surrounding area school systems, and had a discussion with the school committee, and so then I left the non-public session, and I'm about to find out
Okay.
what the results were.
That's fine. So, Dr. Blake requested a 2% salary adjustment to his present salary of $3,660, a 2% salary increase of $3,660, $2,500 added to his annuity, which is a $2,500 reduction from last year, as well as a 1-year extension to his current contract.
Move to support Dr. Blake's request.
Second.
Moved by Hugh, second by Greg. Is there any further discussion?
This was a particularly challenging year, and Dr. Blake put in an enormous effort to guide our schools through it. I think we respect everything he does to make our schools intact after this crisis, and I think in particular we applaud him for his excellent work during the crisis, and we hope that this will help us build going into a great year next year with new administrators and a new mission to improve the district.
Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed?
One abstention.
And one abstention. Okay. So that's 6-0 with one abstention. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Blake. And I move that to your administrative
Yep.
report.
So
please.
last but certainly not least, as my administrative report for June 24th, as I said last week in my weekly message to the parents, we made it through the school year, although tattered and exhausted. But I would have to say that it was a successful year. You know, as I reflected back on the year, and I hear a lot about learning loss and how tough things were, I look at our surrounding districts, and I'm far less worried about learning loss than I think they need to be. You know, and I say that because we've been in school all year. You know, we were in a hybrid model, and even our hybrid model, the kids were heavily involved from the get-go. And so, you know, while there may be some learning loss, and I'm not saying that there isn't, I think the degree to which we have to be concerned about that. I think our biggest concern going into the fall is actually the social emotional piece of it, and we've got a lot of things happening through the summer and preparing for the fall. Been a busy 3 weeks since our last meeting with all the year-end events and already planning for next year. I interviewed and hired the new director for the EDP program, a gentleman by the name of Joe Gill. Officially started this week, and he's been busy organizing the program for the fall. Prior to his arrival, I ran the registration process and got that squared away. Put out hiring notices in the high school to hire our high school students for next year. So this year, the tech department was able to help me to organize the flow of the students, and so I think being able to have a better control of the flow of the students, knowing, you know, how many students are going to be there on Monday for breakfast versus, you know, a Thursday for breakfast, or a Tuesday and a Thursday for after school care. We have exact numbers, and so I think that combined with perhaps not all parents going back into offices, we're actually able to accommodate all students who registered.
Awesome.
So I don't have a waiting list this year,
Whoa.
which is.
Well, how many registered?
We've got on any given day, I think the highest attendance is 150 some odd students between the two programs. And it was just the way it worked out. And so, very happy that we were able to get the registration done and be able to accommodate those. So,
Yeah, parents of
that's great.
registered students been informed that they will have care, or is that messaging coming out soon?
Joe is in the process of doing that now. I asked him to put out an introduction letter this week. I just took a look at it yesterday afternoon. He sent it to me, so that should all be coming out. He's in the process of interviewing now and hiring his staff for the fall, developing the schedule and organizing materials. You know, just in terms of history, back when, 16 months ago when COVID started, the EDP program ended abruptly because we closed. And then Mrs. Gooby decided at that point that she was going to retire. And so basically all of the supplies and materials and everything went into a corner for the last year and a half. And so Joe is in the process of inventorying that with Chrissy and Antonetta, who are both coming back to the program. So a lot going on in that realm. This summer he'll be working to develop the program. One of the things that I talked to him about in the hiring process is perhaps next summer looking at some summer programming that's associated with the school district, so that it becomes more of a year-round opportunity for our students. So we did have a paying grant that was written last year that we didn't do anything with because of COVID, and we couldn't have the program. So the grant didn't materialize, but in that grant were opportunities and a vision to expand that program. Number one, expand it more into the community and develop community partnerships, so that, for example, your son or daughter goes to EDP after school, but they've got a 4 o'clock practice or a 4:30 practice over at the soccer field. Well, is there a way that we can partner with the soccer program to get those kids from point A to point B and help out parents? So that's some of the things that we're talking about. Another thing is Joe has a lot of connections with folks who either are or had been involved in the YMCA. So we're looking at a flag football opportunity that we're looking to bring into town for our kids. And so what might that partnership after school? So lots of opportunities, and that was all sort of the thinking behind the grant that actually Sheila McAdams wrote, was to expand that program and provide additional opportunities in town for families. So I charged Joe with, number one, get our EDP program up and running again. Let's not throw the baby out with the bathwater. We had a great program that parents loved, so I don't want to necessarily just start from scratch, but I do want to enhance that program. And then another thing that we're looking at further down the line is expanding it into 6th and maybe 7th grade, because there's not a whole lot of programming in town for that age group. The high school kids are straight out. They're overbooked between sports and clubs and athletics and the music programs. But the middle school, we're a little bit lacking. And
We had the
like to see more
YMCA
there.
program. Is that still going on?
Yeah. What do you mean? The
Kids would, years ago, kids would take a bus to the
Yeah,
YMCA.
yeah. But it's not widely subscribed to.
It isn't.
So lots of opportunities coming there, and I've charged Joe to take that under his area. Cheryl Herrick Stella, as we saw earlier, started her transition last week and has met extensively with Bill, myself, and Janet, Liz, and Cindy in the office. She'll be starting with us July 6th. We piloted a new math program that will be fully implemented in the fall at the 2 elementary schools. The middle school will also be piloting the math program in grades 6 and 7 this year. I've met several times with Tracy and the 2 math coaches from the elementary school, Jen Spencer McAdams and Lena Lopez Ryan, to discuss what that program is going to look like and what the model is for the fall. Very excited to have the 2 coaches from the schools working together. They're not going to necessarily be assigned to one school. They're going to work between both schools. And I've asked Tracy to prepare a presentation for the fall for us. I know that there's been some questions around the IM math program. We've talked about it in terms of budgeting, but we really haven't talked about, what it looks like. We've had limited conversations, so I asked them to prepare a presentation for us in the fall, just to bring everyone up to speed and answer any questions that folks might have. Participated in the school facilities working group where we met again with Bill Loge, our consultant that the school committee had met with. I believe either Kate or Chubb is going to talk about that a little bit later. Our professional development committee also met to review the year and talk about our plans for the professional development day in the fall. I attended the year-end meetings for both the Caress Collaborative and the North Shore Superintendent's Group. We all breathed a sigh of relief that we were able to make it through the year in one piece. The North Shore meeting was actually an in-person luncheon to celebrate our retirees. It was over at Essex Tech. Also participated in negotiations for both the teacher contract and the new ESP unit. I've had several meetings with parents regarding student or teacher concerns. Been meeting with Chris on a regular basis to talk about all the summer work that we've got to get done. The schedule gets pretty tight when the doors close for students. It's really go time for the custodians. We've got a lot of additional work this year with moving furniture, emptying those trailers out, and getting us back in shape for the fall. Had a call with the commissioner last week. Been doing a lot of meetings with Bill and Tracy around the ESSER 2 funding and the ESSER 3 funding, and making some plans for that moving forward. I've met with both Sheilas to discuss the transitions, and spoke with Jeff before his last day in the office this week. His last day was yesterday, and he'll be using vacation time. The transitions, Sarah O'Brien and Sheila Halloran at Doyon, they've been transitioning the last couple of weeks, and Sarah's been with us all year. So she knows a lot of what's going on, and Sheila Halloran will be done on June 30. Sheila McAdams, working with Amy Sullivan. I know that they had a couple of hours today via Zoom, because Amy finished up her school year as a principal in Newburyport last week, and then had a prearranged family vacation, so we're trying to work on on how that transition goes. But I did speak with Sheila today, and she said that they talked for a couple hours via Zoom, and they went through a particular list that I had given them to work through in terms of transition, and they're going to have some follow-up conversations as well. So I'm confident that, come July 6th, we'll be in great shape, and both principals will be able to step in. In terms of end-of-year events, there was a baccalaureate. I took the administrative team out to dinner at the Ipswich Bay Yacht Club to celebrate the retirements of the principals and Jeff's new position. We had a great evening, great conversation.
Yeah, sorry there.
Met Dr. O'Flynn there. We had Crane Beach Day. We had graduation. The office staff also spent an afternoon after work with Joanne Cuff at Pavilion Beach. We had a little get-together, thanks in large part to Laura's organization and food prep skills. So that was nice. And then we had the Doyon moving on ceremony, the middle school graduation, and Winthrop's moving on ceremony. So, been a busy couple weeks. This week, right now, many folks are taking some time off to catch their breath. And then we'll be back at it after the 4th of July. I have my first leadership team meeting with all the new folks, essentially reconstituted team, the week of July 6th. So looking forward to that.
Fabulous. Thank you.
That's all I got.
I have a question about the EVP. I was just thinking
Yeah.
backwards. So I am thrilled that we can accommodate everyone. There's no wait list. Is there any flexibility if we have a family who moves in and
Yep. So that question was raised because, as we're learning in our office, people are registering fast and furious. These new houses that are being built on Linebrook Road and over on Mile Lane, there's kids in them. And so as they're registering, we're finding more and more families that are needing that information. So, at some point, we're not there, but at some point we're going to have to take a look at that in terms of the numbers of people in programs. But I think with the way the numbers have fleshed out thus far in each of the programs and the days that kids are requiring care, that we're able to accommodate it. And I think, my mindset is that if I have to hire additional staff, if Joe has to hire additional people to make that happen, we'll figure it out. We'll figure a way to accommodate that. So.
And
Is that your
will
vision going forward, is that we won't have that wait list? I know that'd be a huge relief for the community not to have that every single year.
And that's a profit
yes.
center for us as well.
I'm sorry?
That is a profit center for us.
That is a profit center for us. And, when you look at the rates, we are, it is low cost comparatively speaking to other programs. And we do, one of the things that we are looking at this point that I've asked Joe to also look at is free and reduced lunch population and comparing that and seeing, there's only one person in our office who has access to that information, so I have to give her I have to give her the information on our registrants, and she has the information on free and reduced, and she'll have to match them up for us and see what that looks like. But I've asked that happen as well, so that we're making sure that we're capturing everybody who needs the program or wants the program, we're able to accommodate. So.
Great.
That's great.
It's going to be so great, because I know so many of our working parent families, it's such a stressor.
Yeah.
I remember when Nicole was on school, we didn't get her kids to church. It's like,
Right.
I was thinking of her as well, and I don't think she brought her kids to the school, correct?
She didn't.
She didn't.
Right, because she had no care for them.
Right.
Yeah.
You used to have to get in when they're in kindergarten or first grade to kind of get them in early, because you couldn't
Yeah.
get in as a fourth or fifth
Well, and
grader.
it's interesting because when I had, of course, during the course of the spring, parents were contacting me saying, when are we, when's registration? And so I made the announcements. It's going to be in 2 weeks, and it's going to be in 1 week, and it's opening on I think I opened it on a Wednesday. Well, at 7 o'clock when the website went live, there were it was like 75 people that registered within the first 20 minutes, one after another. So
We were
it was
trained, man.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah.
It was.
We had alarms set. There were text groups.
Oh,
Don't forget,
I
don't
know.
forget.
Right? Are you in? Are you in?
Like, are you awake? Yes.
So no, I'm very happy that we're able to accommodate everybody and make that happen. So
Right. Anything else?
that's all I got.
Okay.
That's enough.
That's enough.
Yep. All right. Vouchers and bills, they're all set, Laura? Thank you. Before we get to school committee reports, on the 15th of July, I'd love to get everybody's desires for the school committee, subcommittees, working groups, and liaisons for the next year. Laura, can you send around this document again to the school committee? So we have a lot of vacancies where it says Carl Nyland on every single one. So, so I'd love to get everybody's preferences. And you can email me separately to those preferences. That'd be great. If you want to get off one, that'd be great too, to say that. It's just helpful for me. And and we'll put that as an agenda item on the 15th of July. Athletic subcommittee.
We have not met. We had our last meeting
Forever
Kids.
ago. Tom canceled it.
Yeah. Although we do have a couple of new coaches. Tom hired a new football coach and a new field hockey coach, so that's great.
And your football team's going, you've got enough members, you think?
Well, no,
for a
so the football
team?
coach was, came from the staff, Zach Lamkin, and he was pretty confident that he could drum up some additional interest and try to field some players. As of right now, we have 12 returning players on our entire high school football roster, so.
You only need 11.
He's gonna do a little bit of work, yeah.
Only needs 11.
Hugh will be suited up out there.
Honestly, the
He'll be-
glory days going both ways was a normal thing.
Yeah,
All the time.
Yep.
I'm
Came off the
confident it'll
field.
work out.
Great, that's good news. Budget?
We haven't met,
Nope.
no, in a while.
We've heard from the Payne, is there anything else for mini grant today?
No, just we approved a bunch of very cool mini grants, and it was a great experience, and the presenters were awesome, and the one we had a question about, Brian actually was able to work out, so it was great.
Have we sent those grants around, that the approval sheet around? It'd be nice to send it to the school committee.
Yeah.
If we can.
Yeah, they're really good.
Is there a process in place for the public to have access to that, or no?
We used to
On
put
the
it
website?
On the new
I
website?
mean, I think the community would love to see what,
Yeah, the
you know, like a
Patty
little
McMahon
couple
had a really neat,
sentences.
like, it was like a sand table almost, and it was so kids could, but it was like movable and huge, so kids could do like interactive, like working with like erosion and like creating like beaches and land masses, and it was just really cool. Becky had one in the high school that was partnered with Council on Aging, I think, and then the Huntington Theater to bring kids on the weekends into plays,
Yeah.
and then
All
with
the girls at stage.
people
From
from,
the
yeah, I
Council on
mean,
Aging, yeah, that's the second year for that.
Yeah.
It's a great program.
it's a great program. I mean,
But we
just
should market this, you know, the town, we're spending this money well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
Cynthia Welsh is doing, it's almost
You know,
like a LIPS program, but Winthrop wide on literacy, and just really great grants. We should know them.
I'm feeling I'm feeling a communications newsletter
Great.
filled with mini grant.
Kate will get right on that one.
See that, Kate?
I'm on budget
Be
now.
careful what you ask for.
That's right.
Let's wait till the July 15th meeting.
No, I do, I think that's a good idea,
Look
Chip.
up,
We
like,
should do that.
updating your, so, again, the new beat. I don't remember, Greg, you might have been here for this, but the plan had been, pre-COVID, that we were gonna start having a cocktail party, or not cocktail party,
Yeah.
not cocktails, but a
Reception.
reception at the end
I'm
of
in.
every year,
I remember
hosted by
that.
the Feffys.
Yeah.
Oh, or not hosted, welcoming the Feffys, because everyone's like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And somebody, I can't remember who, had come up with a quick template. Remember, it was somebody who did, one of the teachers. Anyway, the idea was that it would be a super quick 5-minute presentation for each grant, and everybody could just go, wow, that is really cool.
Yeah.
But then COVID happened. So hopefully hopefully we'll get back
Yeah,
on
let's
that.
get the,
But
That's a
that had been the
great
plan,
idea.
we would do it at the end of the year, and just sort of, the faculties would be invited so they could see, because I'm always curious about what are you doing with the funds? And we can also open it up to the public and let people come and just, and be amazed by our incredible educators.
Yeah.
so who
That's a
puts that
great
together?
idea.
The communications subcommittee or?
I'm adding it to the list of things to talk about in August.
That's a great
Yeah.
idea.
Great,
All things
great,
Feffy.
perfect.
Yeah.
And you know what? We just heard about building back the EDP program, which was exciting. So this can be part of our building back program, because I think the theme next year is building back. So,
Better?
building back better. There you go. We'll do it in an orange
We already
hat.
have content for our
An
first
orange hat.
newsletter now, so we're good.
B squared.
There you go, right? Okay. Operations didn't meet. Policy, did you guys meet, Tom?
No.
we haven't.
No. Working groups. School facilities did meet. It was a great meeting with Bill Logue again, but I really think the next step for school facilities working group, as it relates to the potential for an elementary building project, is I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves. We've done 2 reorganizations now, the select board and the school committee. I'd like to get to do the process the right way, and I've seen it go off track in the last process, and set up a meeting with the select board and the town manager to discuss with the new reorganized committees. So that's what I would like to do, and to talk about site. So that's the report out of the school facilities working group.
May I add something? Not too much. Another thing we agreed on is that we, this summer, would start working on some sort of outreach to the community, sort of reflecting back what we heard from the last project, what we learned, and, you know, kind of starting the, you know, why we need a new school, because it's, you know, it's a new parent group. It's been a few years, so that's something else we agreed that we would start to work on this summer. To
Right.
circulate, you know, shortly after school begins, perhaps.
And I will reach out tomorrow to the select board. Any other working groups?
Race and Equity hasn't met formally, but there's a lot going on in the town. There's sort of a spin-off of a creation of sort of a parents group, which I think is great because a lot of the goals and movement was more of a community group focus than necessarily school committee group focus. So that group is actually gaining steam. They're working with Hamilton Wenham and the town manager's office to create a human rights commission similar to what Hamilton Wenham has. I know that there was a meeting, unfortunately because of my husband's issues, I wasn't able to go, but Sarah Player went, and they're sort of starting to pull together a lot of the groups that are in town that I think we really struggled to reach this year. And I think that group will probably, one, look for a liaison out of the school committee if that's something we want to talk about. And 2, I think that will let us push some of the policy things back into policy that we talked about also. So, you know, it was a hard year, I think, for a million reasons, but the work keeps going, and it's building steam, and a lot of the smaller groups are coming together now, and I think that will be very supportive for our district as we try to figure out ways that we can really move forward. So
I think a parent from that ad hoc committee reached out to me. I included you, both of you, in the emails. Is that what?
I think so. I don't honestly.
And they'd like to come before the school committee in the
you're right.
fall.
Correct.
And I'd love it if you
Yep.
would both coordinate a presentation for that.
Yeah, absolutely, and we can sort
Okay.
of sit down over the summer and meet. I just think there's a lot of movement and there's a lot of different needs in a lot of different aspects, and some of them are clearly school committee and we should address, and then some of them I think are community, but will filter back into the schools. So I
Okay.
think there's
Do you envision that working group, school committee working group,
continuing.
or
I don't-
morphing into different things?
I don't know. It depends. I think there was a strong feeling, and Brian, correct me if I'm misrepresenting, but Tracy really wanted it pushed into policy, I think, was my takeaway, was that she felt very strongly that that was where the school committee's work belonged. I think there's an opportunity for, now that we've sort of muddled through a little bit for a year, maybe some more focused goal setting that we could do in a working group setting that might be more productive, that can include, there's a lot of goal setting work going on with other districts. Everybody's sort of in this place where, you know, there's
Everybody's trying to figure it out.
tensions
To do it
around
right,
this
yeah.
issue are high, and you know, people are moving forward and they're trying to figure it out, but they're starting to move forward with it. So I think that's, you know, where we are, and you know, I think we need to keep doing the work. I do. I think we needed a break for a little bit, but I think we need to return
Oh, no, I
to
definitely
it.
think I'm just curious, we'll just have to figure out in what way. And if we do end up dissolving that working group, we'll need to send a message that it's not because the work is done by any means.
Yeah, and I don't think dissolving it's the right move now, but I do think it's really focused goal setting that is what we need to do, and that's going to take, I think now that we can meet face to face and have more conversations, I think that's the better way to go. It was a hard thing to accomplish over Zoom for a year, so.
Okay. That it, thank you. I'm happy to report there's been no reopening oversight committee meetings. So
Thank you.
those are over, I hope. Dr. Blake, I hope that
Those are
that
done.
one can
That
go
one
like
is
that.
done. Yep.
Okay?
Yep.
We can X that one off.
But Brian, no masks this fall for the kids? What's the story on
As
that?
of right now, the guidance is that as of when the school year ended, mandatory masks were no longer required. Encouraged during summer program, but not required, and no masks for the fall. At least that's the guidance that we have thus far.
Pretty amazing.
Cold and flu season is.
Before we adjourn, I will need the sheet of paper that I gave out in non-public session. I will need all of those back.
With all my notes?
Please.
With all my notes?
You
Okay.
wanna shred it
No,
in front of me? That's fine.
no, that's fine. No, you can have my notes. It's just one sheet, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, we got a couple.
Three.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's after 10.
Just trying
Nothing
to
good
be-
happens after 10
Just
with
trying to
me.
be efficient.
I'm sorry.
You have
So, do we have any liaisons? Yes.
CPAC had their final meeting, they had their elections, they're looking to sort of, now that we're through pandemic, have a sort of more robust schedule in the fall, plan some events. So I think that will be good. It was a exhausting year for special education, parents,
yeah.
staff, educators,
Yep.
everybody. They gave it their all, and they just did a phenomenal job, and families did a phenomenal job coming through when they were asked to do so. And you know, there's still some things to be worked out, but you know, it's a group of students that was supported and continues to be supported by a bunch of people who care very passionately that they get the best opportunity we can provide for them. So it was a good meeting, and you know, it's a good group of people moving the program forward. So.
Great. Thank you. And you have an IAF meeting coming up?
On Monday, which
We
can't
do,
attend,
and
That's
neither
okay.
of us will be there.
That's
Yeah.
okay. They'll survive.
Yeah, I
They'll
think
survive.
they'll make it.
So, Is there any new business to discuss?
I will say the girls lacrosse team's in the state semifinals tomorrow.
Are they really?
Nice.
Yes.
You report at
Tough game.
2:45.
Yeah, they won 20 to 12.
It's gonna be very tough.
20 to 12, 20 to 14.
Yeah, they beat Tingsboro. I mean,
That's
basically,
a big
they've lost
score.
one game all season. That was to Newburyport, and Newburyport destroyed us. We're gonna play them.
And who are they playing, Newburyport?
Newburyport tomorrow night.
Excellent.
Okay.
Newburyport's undefeated.
Okay.
They're excellent, yeah. Doesn't happen in lacrosse these days.
Well, the class of, let's see, 26 or 27, Ipswich soccer, women's
I know,
soccer
we'll be
team is playing in the state tournament this weekend, so I'm excited. I'll be attending that, so that'll be
Very
fun.
cool.
I will say, when my older daughters were in soccer, we went to the state championships 2 or 3 years in a row.
Wow.
And it was a lot of fun
Wow.
for soccer.
Wow. So, yeah, that'll be
It
fun.
hasn't happened in a long time.
No.
Yeah, well, yeah, I see a big group coming up,
Good.
so,
Keep
So
them all
it'll
in
be-
Ipswich, no private schools.
Right.
I know.
No private schools
I
and
know.
no,
Well, you know, it's
Is
takes,
it
no, it's other,
Seacoast United.
All right, yeah, no
Yeah.
clubs.
Yeah.
They all play club, as long as they keep coming.
no, these girls have been, like, they've gone to their club teams and they're like, this team's better. So it's pretty good. The consent agenda, excuse me. I had it out here later. There it is. Moved, and I thank you again for the incredible minutes. They are the best. Move the Ipswich School Committee to accept the open session meeting minutes from June 3rd, 2021.
Second.
All those, all those in favor? Okay, it's unanimous. I'd like to entertain. I'd
Move
like
to adjourn?
Second?
All those in favor? Thank you, Ipswich.
Thanks, everybody.
Have a lovely night.